What up, everybody? You are back in tune with another episode of In the Fields podcast. It is your host, Johnny, with my lovely wife, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
And yeah, man, we are back in tune. And I think this time we're going to get a feel for the emotional cost of always being okay. Or of like always trying to, I guess, put on that front of being okay. You know what I mean? Having to always push through and, you know, how much that can cost us mentally and emotionally and how draining that can be. And I'm sure all of you guys can relate. And when we get into this episode or when we start it, I would love to start it with a weekly check-in, you know, and just maybe think of moments where, you know, we had to be okay because we had things to do, or maybe a moment where we weren't able to fully be okay because it was too hard. So yeah, babe. What's up? How's your week going? Any moments this week that stand out to you as far as, you know, you having to kind of be okay even when you weren't, or maybe a moment where you weren't okay because it was too hard to maintain?
I mean, both. You know, going into the new year and this, you know, first week back at like a full week of everything, we kind of set that goal for ourselves of really trying to, you know, create these slow mornings for ourselves and sitting on, you know, last Sunday, planning out our entire week, really utilizing our calendars and our reminders. And it was our first week doing that. You know, I've never been a morning person, so naturally, you know, being so locked in on like what we were creating, the fact that like day one going into the week, our alarms didn't go off. I woke up kind of late. I had to rush, which is something that like I don't want to do anymore. So it already set the tone for like a kind of shitty day. But then it just like was weird that like it felt like everything kept going wrong for me. So naturally I started feeling very, you know, irritated, stressed out, overwhelmed. It was like getting the best of me. But like I pushed through. Yeah, I cried. Yeah, I crumbled a little bit, but like I was just like, you know what, just because this happened doesn't mean it can happen tomorrow. Like, I need to just keep going and, like, really trying. Next day, it went fine. Next day, it worked out. Wednesday, same thing. Alarms didn't go off, similar patterns. And I think at that moment, it really, like, took a lot out of me because I was just so overwhelmed that, like, I had to excuse myself at dinner. I went upstairs. I went to be by myself. Like, I cried. Like, I gave myself space because I felt like that's what I needed in that moment. But yeah, like, it was hard. But at the same time, despite how I was feeling and all of that, like, I continued to push through. I continued to stay on task of what we set up for ourselves, and I made it happen. I took the day Friday, gave myself a rest day, gave myself time to do some other things, and now here we are Sunday again, and I'm feeling a lot lighter. I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm excited to sit and do this again until it becomes so easy for us. So that's kind of where I'm at this week.
Oh, yeah, man. I like that.
What about you?
For me, I'm a very high functioning, you know, I'm like high functioning depressed person. I don't know how to
Polar opposite.
I don't know how to label it, but I am a very high functioning depressed person. Like when I'm depressed or sad or angry, like I am very much like shit still needs to get done.
I do admire that about you.
Yeah, and I mean it's like a double-edged sword, you know, because how long am I going to pretend to be okay before I'm not, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And oftentimes, you know, you've seen me get to points where I just can't anymore. You know, there's times where I got to take a day off or I have to rest like you and do the same thing because sometimes just putting on that front of being okay all the time can also be super exhausting. And I just, you know, I just grew up in an era where feelings weren't something that were debilitating.
You didn't have time for them.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say that I didn't have time, but like we just weren't taught to make space for them. Like feelings were just on top of whatever you have to do. Like they just so happen to exist while still there being priorities and things of that nature. So it just always kind of felt like there wasn't necessarily a safe space for emotions, because oftentimes if it's not happiness, it's looked at as something that doesn't really have importance, or something that doesn't have that much of an impact on you, and things of that nature. Now, don't get me wrong, like, resilient, you should be resilient. You should be able to push through. Like, you cannot sacrifice priorities and, you know, quit. I don't think you should be doing that just based off of emotion. Now, that's just me personally. Like,
No, I
for
agree.
some people, and especially when it comes to, I want to say, when it comes to your priorities, your dreams, the things that you aspire to be, like, you can't let emotion knock you off the path. Don't get me wrong. You're working a shitty job. Your job is constantly stressing you out. Every day, your job is causing you to fucking be sad or upset. Then, okay, fuck that job then. You know what I'm saying? But not where, like, I couldn't stop being a father because I'm emotional. Like, that's one thing that I try to always stay composed. And I think that's another part of my, like, high functioning emotional construct, is that I'm I will really refuse to let my priorities slip. Like, this week, I definitely felt there were moments that I was getting overwhelmed or overstimulated or irritated, and, like, you've definitely you notice it more than anybody else, because you can tell the difference now, versus, like, the majority of people can't.
Yeah.
Like, my kids can't really tell. I'm always keeping the good fatherly front on, and I try to make sure that for them I'm always Superman, if you will. Like,
Yeah.
nobody sees Superman cry. The only person who sees Superman cry is Lois Lane. So everybody else is like, that's the hero. He's super, he's strong. So that's kind of like how it was this week for me, is just, again, just kind of being on that high functioning side, which, again, is like a double-edged sword. It's not necessarily the right choice either. Like, neither one of us is right or wrong, us being on opposite spectrums. Like,
Yeah.
you being more emotionally open and being like, more willing to express your emotion, like, that doesn't make you wrong in any way, shape, or form. Like, the same way, like, me inadvertently suppressing it, if you will, or, like, just kind of putting it to the side until I can make space for it, that's not wrong either. It's just how we
Yeah.
are, and everybody's different. And we learn the pros and the cons of those choices, and we try to just make better decisions and things of that nature.
Well, I was going to say I like that we are opposite in that front, because I feel like we can learn from each other, because, I feel like because of with me, I feel like you are more vulnerable now when it comes to opening up and really letting your emotions out and just feeling safe to do so within the certain setting. But I'm also learning how to be more resilient and push through despite how I'm feeling. So it's nice that we can like bounce off of each other too, and we can lean on each other for support in those moments, because that's a big thing. Like, emotions and feelings, they're not the problem. I think a lot of the time it's being supported in them, because I feel like, there's a lot of times where we do not feel supported, in our feelings, and that's like for everybody speaking. Um, because I know that's one of my biggest things, like when I was younger, and going through, previous relationships, I don't feel like my feelings or emotions were ever supported. So it was very hard for me. And being with you, like, we've learned to better support each other within those moments. So now it is easier. Like, this past week, I couldn't have gone through it without you, because you have been there. You gave me that grace, that patience, that love, that reassurance that, like, it's okay to feel, it's okay that I'm having these moments, but also reminding me that, like, this is not failure. Like, you are not failing. It is okay that you feel overwhelmed, but that doesn't mean you could don't let that take over. Like, you got to keep pushing through and reminding me of those things. So, like, it definitely helped a lot. Like, that support does mean something in those moments for people.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're a team, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, man. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby. Um, I can't be mad when somebody on my team is having a bad day. You know what I mean? We still have this game of life that the clock isn't stopping just because we're having a bad day. So that's like one of the biggest things for me, is that shit still needs to get done. And I think that's what I love about us being more organized now, and like planning our weeks out and things of that nature, because with our week planned out and us being able to visibly see it, we can now safely create space for those bad days, because there are, like this past week, like there were times where we pivoted, like, okay, we're not going to film this day. Let's move it this day. Or, okay, we can move this to this day because the space is there. Because now I'm having a point where I'm having an unexpected moment of, being overwhelmed emotionally or overstimulated or whatever the case is. And because I'm able to visualize the week, I'm able to, transition into making space for that emotion or that overstimulation or that overwhelming feelings. And then I can move things into other parts of my week. So this way I'm able to make space for that. So it's like, as much as like we're organizing our lives to just be more punctual and more intentional with what we do, I love that it allows us to also safely create space without it negating our priorities.
Yeah.
Like now we can take this priority that was on Thursday and go, okay, I have space for this on Friday, so I'm going to move this on Friday because Thursday I had a shitty day.
And I need time.
Right. So I think I love that. I think that's kind of like the underlying bonus with the whole organization of our, of our lives and things of that nature. So hell yeah, man. That was dope. I like that.
I did too.
And yeah, before we get into the rest of the episode though, let's give them a word from our sponsors. Ooh La Laid, the best lemonade in the Lehigh Valley, in the 610, in Pennsylvania, and probably the entire universe at this point. I mean,
sure.
Guys, we've been saying this time and time again. This has been a year almost at this point that we've been telling you guys how amazing this lemonade is. All natural ingredients, made with love, fresh squeezed. And we do have new flavors this week, which is amazing. I'm so excited. I've got the watermelon dragon fruit. What do you got? Strawberry
pineapple?
Nice. And we already know this is going to be amazing. So I'm going to give it a quick sip real quick. Wow.
You could really taste the strawberry.
This one is actually super light and refreshing, which I love.
Yeah, Maya had that one the other day, and I sipped it, and it was super refreshing. It's really good.
Wow, that's going to be gone before the episode's done.
They always are.
Per usual, yeah, usually it's like 1.5. But yeah, guys, Ooh La Laid, the official drink sponsor of In the Fields podcast. Make sure you guys go and follow them on Instagram at Ula_Laid. Once again, that's at Ula_Laid. Tell them Johnny and Lisa sent you. They're going to take care of you guys the same way that they take care of us.
Yes.
And then you guys also get to brag to all of your friends about how you guys get to enjoy the best lemonade in the entire world. That this is literally like God tier lemonade. Yeah, it's so good. It'll make you want to slap your mama.
Nom, nom.
Yeah. Deliciousness. And again, follow them at Ula_Laid. Tell them Johnny and Lisa sent you. Other than that, guys, back to our episode. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with another episode of In the Fields podcast. Shout out to all the feelers who are in tune. We appreciate you guys. If you're here, make sure you guys hit that follow button, the subscribe button, wherever you guys are listening to us from, so this way you guys can get updates from us constantly. And yeah, man, like I said earlier, this episode we're really just kind of exploring the feels, I guess you could say, around always being okay and what that costs us emotionally, and the things that we do when we are pushing to be okay all the time, regardless of emotion. You know what I mean? Whether it's always showing up for people or, compartmentalizing our own emotions. And it's just, it's tough, it gets to a point where, it gets to the point where you almost seem like you have to be okay, because feeling any other type of way that isn't positive is sometimes can feel wrong, and I think that stems from, your childhood traumas, like you said earlier, or not having safe spaces to feel emotions and things of that nature. And I think for me, because I'm like more of the high functioning, always being okay, I think that's super prevalent, is like, you can tell that, prior to you, that I wasn't always I wasn't always in a space that I felt my emotions were safe to express. And oftentimes, you know, even as a guy, like you grow up like that, no crying in baseball, rub some dirt in it. That's very like what we were taught. So we were never really instructed on how to create safe spaces for our emotions. And instead, they end up coming out in ways that we don't want them to, you know? I hate to quote my son's book or his comic or whatever, but for as long as you ignore it, it ends up like like you can try to ignore it, but it's like as long as you ignore it, it comes up when you don't want it to, you know? Like if you can pretend everything is okay, but that's when your emotions spill out and your emotions come up when you don't really want them to. And I think that for men, and I think a lot of you guys can relate, all the guys that are listening, like I think, you know, for us, we end up our emotions end up manifesting in a form of like anger and frustration,
We've
because
talked
of
about that before.
because of not having the safe space to address them and things of that nature. And you know, it sucks because you know when you're the emotional cost of just being okay is like oftentimes is like you're just making sure everybody else is okay. Like you make space for so many other people and not yourself, and you don't necessarily address it. Like for me, being okay almost kind of became like my coping mechanism
Yeah.
in a sense. Like it was how I dealt with emotion, and it was how I felt like I needed to show up. Like I needed to always show up okay, or I was looked at as weak or broken or things of that nature. But I know for you, it's like the opposite. You know what I mean? For you, it's like you're not the high functioning, you know, that, like you're not like me in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not that, not in a bad way. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, it's like a lot of emotional suppression and you know pushing even when I don't feel like doing it. But I know for you that might appear differently.
Well, I mean, I could relate a lot similarly to like the childhood stuff because even though I'm not a boy, I'm not a man, like I also grew up in a house where my mother was my main provider and she wore the pants in the house. Like despite, you know, my dad not being there, any boyfriends that she had, like she was the one that was going hard. She was the one that like didn't miss work and always like showed up despite like whatever was going on in her life, despite, you know, chaos the night before. She still got up, she still did what she had to do. And like there was many times like as a child that like I was very emotional and I would be told, you know, like I'll give you a reason to cry. Like, you know, like cut it out, go to your room, be by yourself type of thing. So like I never really had the space to, like you said, like really have direction on how to manage my emotions. Like I didn't learn that until way later in life. And when you're learning that at like your late 20s, early 30s, you're trying to undo years of not knowing how to properly regulate your emotions. And it is hard. And I think the hardest thing for me now is that I have gone through my healing journey. I have learned what I've learned. And like I know I'm getting way better at regulating my emotions. Now I'm in a place where if I do get overly emotional, you know, like I did the other night, like I went and hid in the closet with the light off so I could just sit by myself and cry so nobody would see me. And like I was texting you like I am not okay. Like I feel like I'm a bad mom because I can't even sit there and enjoy dinner with everybody without my emotions. Like I can feel that like it's radiating off of me. Like I can feel that other people around me can be affected by this, and the best course of action for me is to excuse myself, which made me feel more like shit. So like in turn, I'm like making my emotions more prevalent and more upsetting because now I'm thinking of like all these things because I'm like, I should be able to just manage it. I should be able to just push through. I should be able to wait until later when everybody's in bed and then I could feel my feelings, but I can't. So like in that moment, I kind of spiraled, and it was nice because you reassured me that like the fact that I was even capable of acknowledging that, you know, that I'm not okay and that I do need a second to take to myself does not make me a bad mom. It does not make me a bad person, a bad partner. Like, it's just okay to not always be okay. And I think that was the biggest takeaway is like, it's okay to have feelings and emotions, big or small, and it's how you handle them. Like the fact that I was able to walk away instead of letting every little thing irritate me and spill out, you know, annoyance or frustration or anger onto the other people around me, I was able to, you know what, I'm just going to take a time for myself. I'm going to get it out, gather myself, and then, and then I got to the point where I was okay, and I went and snuggled Maya, like we ended the night very well, and I went into the next day feeling okay, and I just was like, you know what, I got this. I pushed through my day, and like slowly but surely I started feeling okay.
Yeah.
So,
I got to give you your props because again, it's not, you didn't do anything wrong, the fact that you felt your emotions affecting the people around you in a negative way and took the time and had the strength to really take yourself and give yourself that space. Like, that takes strength, and it takes a certain level of emotional maturity to be able to do that, because oftentimes we, again, will let our emotions get the best of us. We will let our emotions impact those around us, and it's kind of, I mean, I've grown up like that, where parents are arguing regardless of children's presence, and yelling and screaming regardless of who's around, and I have a rough day, so now everybody around me is irritating and irritable. And just the fact that you even took the time and noticed that and had the strength to remove yourself from a situation where you had the potential to hurt those around you, like, I have to give you your props, because at the end of the day, it's not a lot of people are capable of doing that. Oftentimes it isn't until we reflect back that we realize, oh fuck, like, I was a piece of shit in that moment. I was a bitch in that moment. I was an asshole, and I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have spoken to my child that way, or I shouldn't have spoken to my partner that way. And instead you removed yourself prior to that potential moment, you know what I mean? So I got to give you your credit, and I think that's part of the reason I was so reassuring, is because you didn't do anything wrong. You did exactly the opposite of what we don't like, which is being around each other when we're in shitty moods and then being shitty to each other. So you did the exact thing. You did the exact thing that we should be doing, which is taking time to ourselves, removing ourselves from any potential mishaps that could occur, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure shit is good, And I always got your back, man. And I love you for that, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, that reassurance was definitely needed, because I think what hurt me the most in that moment was the fact that, like I said, looking back, like, I've been doing all this work to heal and like grow and become better. And in that moment, I felt like I was failing myself, because I'm like, I worked so hard to not be in these moments anymore. And it's been a while since I even got to that point. Like, I haven't felt that in such a long time, but for whatever reason, this week was so overwhelming. And like you said, it's, partly trying new things and creating a new way of life for ourselves. And it's just like, life is testing me, and it wants to see me fail, and it wants to break me. And it's like, I can't let it, like, despite how overwhelmed and like upset I am, I need to keep pushing through, and that it is okay to still have moments where I might not be okay.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? It's totally okay that you have those moments, and again, I think that's something that you've learned to do so much better, is be very open with the communication. You're very quick now in pinpointing like certain emotions coming up. Like, I see you now, like, not letting it get to the point where it breaks you. You know what I mean? Like, you're very quick to kind of like, I don't know what it is, but some just don't feel right. You know what I mean? Like, you're very quick to assess it now, which is so dope. You know what I mean? Just seeing your growth is amazing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. And you know what I mean? It just again, guys, there's just so much that comes with the idea of having to be okay all the time. Like, it's okay to not be okay. And, for me personally, like, one of my biggest things is that, or one of the things that cost me the most is that, pretending to be okay all the time, it's like you get like emotionally numb, and you create an environment where, like, people don't even check on you. Like, for me personally, that's probably one of the biggest things that I hate about being okay all the time, is that for me, like, because I put on that front of being okay all the time, because I always come through for people regardless of how I'm feeling and things of that nature, like, you check on me, which is great, But that's because you know me now. Like, you know that, like, just because I'm walking around happy dandy and all that shit doesn't necessarily mean that I'm fucking happy dandy and doing cartwheels. Like, sometimes that's just me being resilient as fuck and getting the shit done that I need to get done. But it's like, I created that for myself. I created a space for myself where, like, people don't check up on me. You know what I'm saying? Because, oh, Johnny's always okay. Johnny's always good. If I could rely on anybody, it's Johnny.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you create this like emotional numbness, and you create this space where, you know, not a lot of people check up on you, and it sucks because, you know, it hasn't been until recently that, like, you know, like I have friends now that hit me up. Hey, how you doing? Hey, everything okay? Hey, bro, just checking in on you. Like, shit, me, Jay, me and Devin, like, we do like brotherly check-ins. Just like, yo, what's up, bro? You good? Just want to double check on you. You know what I mean? And it's like,
It's like our positivity group chat too that I
yeah,
really like.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just, it's good to be getting to a space where, like, especially as a man, where, like, being emotionally mature or being aware of my emotions doesn't necessarily correlate to being a bitch. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of like the misconstrued perspective of men being in tune with their emotions. You know, it's like we end up hurting people around us because we don't want to be in tune with our emotions, and that's just part of the emotional cost of what a lot of men do. Is what I do, is being this high functioning to the point where we lose ourselves. And, you know, and it sucks because we'll blame everything else around us, and instead of looking inward, and it just becomes a spiraling kind of shit show effect. And I'm just kind of glad that we are where we are now, you know, where we're kind of like this hybrid version of ourselves now, where, like, we're on one end with you, it felt like a lot of emotional expression, versus, like, with me, it felt like a lot of emotional blocking. Like, I was
Distancing.
like, very just numb, quiet, it's all good, the whole, like, don't worry, I got it mentality. You know what I'm saying? And it's like now we're reaching this point where we're kind of like becoming this well-balanced hybrid where we are emotionally mature, but, you know, where we are emotional, but not in a sense that it takes us away from our priorities or anything. Like, it's just that emotional maturity that has brought us to, you know, the things that we've discussed in the last episode, man. It's just kind of like we're at a point now where we can express our emotions, we can pinpoint them, and we can kind of navigate them in a way more efficient manner. Like, we navigate emotions in a very logical way. If I guess that, if that makes any sense, or if that kind of like hybrid, again, not leaning too much to one side, but not being completely numb either, you know, like addressing the emotion, realizing emotion. How do I get back to a point where I'm going to feel good? What is it that I need to do? What is it that's making me not feel good? So I love that about where we're at right now. And, you know, I hope this resonates with anybody who's listening, because
We feel for you, man.
we feel for you guys, man. And we know that, you know, like I said, for the fellas, like, being in tune with your emotions don't make you a bitch, bro. It makes you somebody who, you're just that much smarter. You know what I mean? Emotional intelligence is just as important as logical intelligence.
It's a form of knowledge.
And yeah, just the only best piece of advice I could give anybody would be to ensure that you are surrounding yourself with people who actually give a fuck about you. Surround yourself with people who check in on you. Don't overextend yourself to the point where it's going to put you in an emotional rut, or put you in a position where, you know, it spills out in a negative way, or you become overwhelmed or overstimulated, and you just got to take care of yourselves, man.
Yeah, because also, like, even just, like I said, how important support is from those around you when you are in those moments. It's also important to support yourself in those moments. In the same way you would expect or would want somebody else to support you. You need to, you know, say kind things to yourself. Remind yourself that, you know, it is okay to feel your feelings, but also try to, you know, like I've said in previous episodes, asking yourself the appropriate questions, trying to navigate where your emotions are stemming from. You know, things of that sort will help you overcome your emotions a lot faster than allowing them to consume you all day to where, you know, you're stuck in bed, you're not getting things done. But also depending on the situation, like if you need to give yourself time because of whatever situation is causing you feelings, give yourself that time, give yourself that grace, because sometimes it is necessary. Like our bodies store so much pain and trauma and things that like you don't realize, and you need to be able to let it out. Like it is okay to cry. Men, women, whoever, like it is okay, because releasing that is releasing you, and you have to be comfortable and not feel like it is some type of burden or bigger issue than what you're actually experiencing. Like it is okay to let it out.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I want to pick up on what you said about giving yourself grace because, within that, when I think of giving yourself grace, I also think about giving yourself time to rest. Rest is so important. You know what I mean? Like you said, you took that day just so that you could kind of like recalibrate and reset and just readjust. And guys, like professional athletes, as much as working out and training is part of the regimen, like rest is also an essential part of the regimen, The fact that, the fact that you're sensitive to emotions, that doesn't equal weakness. And the fact that I'm high functioning doesn't mean it's unhealthy. Like at the end of the day, awareness is really the goal. It's to make sure that we're aware and that we're doing it in a way that doesn't, or that we're handling our emotions in a way that doesn't negatively impact those around us, but also sets us up in a way that we're, that we're not allowing ourselves to drown. Like you shouldn't need to collapse to decide when you need rest. It should be something that you're giving yourselves those moments of rest. You're giving yourselves that time of emotional cool down, and if we don't do that, we set ourselves up for, again, emotional explosion later or an emotional eruption later. We have to, again, give ourselves grace, again, be aware, and just grant yourself the serenity to be okay. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not work towards being okay. Like it's okay to be sad, but don't be sad and fuck off.
Yeah, don't
be
stuck
sad.
in it.
Don't be fucking upset and do nothing. Like rest and when I say do nothing, I mean woe is me, pity party. Like that shit is not how you express your resilience. Like you need to, again, be aware, pinpoint where this is coming from, and again, give yourself a plan of attack to get back to baseline. Whether that means rest, gym, maybe you need your social battery recharged and you need to go hang out with some people and surround yourself with people you love. Maybe you need a fucking solo date. Take yourself out to dinner. Go get some good food. Fucking sit at a cafe with your calendar and plan and get a nice little meal. Plan your week out. Whatever you need to do.
Just reset.
Just don't do nothing. Because when you do nothing, you're only storing the potential of a negative outburst later. And if you store enough of that potential, eventually it will erupt and it will overflow. And it's going to happen at a moment that you probably don't want it to happen, whether that's at work, whether that's in front of your family, whether that's towards people you love. And I think that's when it becomes dangerous. And I just love how far we've gotten to where, like even just stupid rules, bro. Like me and my wife could be having an argument right now and the kids can't even tell because a rule is like we won't communicate to each other in a way that we can't communicate in front of the kids. And that to me is like something that sticks with me all the time. So I'm very careful with how I speak. I'm very careful with my tone. I'm very careful with my delivery, regardless of how I'm feeling, because I am just much more emotionally aware of not just myself, but my environment. You know, and it's like, it's funny because, like, you know, you hear the phrase, like, there's a time and place. There's a time and place for everything. And it's like, you don't realize how much that applies, but this is one of those scenarios that applies so deeply. Like, time and place is so essential because, you know, being emotionally aware requires you to be being aware of the time and the place where you're at. Like, at work's not the best time to be freaking losing your shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, or in front of the kids. It's not the best time to be losing your shit. You know what I mean? So it's, again, it's like just ensuring you're putting in the work to be aware of what you've got going on, but also putting in the work to put in a plan together to be that version of yourself that you see, who doesn't have to deal with the shit that you're currently going through. You know, when you see that version of yourself, that happy, healthy, fun, loving version of yourself, what is that person doing? Is that person sitting around doing nothing, throwing fucking pity parties and making everybody else feel uncomfortable? Probably not. That person's probably got a plan for themselves. That person's probably in the gym taking care of themselves.
You have to work to obtain that kind of thing.
Yeah, that version of yourself is not going to be something you could just wake up to be. It's something you work to become.
And I had to learn that because I was somebody that just sat around wishing and waiting, like, to feel that way, not realizing that, like, I was the person solely responsible of making myself feel that way. Like, nobody else is in charge of my happiness, only I am. And one thing I've definitely learned through my self-awareness is that, like, my sensitivities, they didn't break me. They just taught me what I needed.
Yeah. It's like your triggers. Your triggers are not the broken pieces of you. Your triggers is your body and your mind and your spirit telling you, "Hey, bro, this is the shit we got to work on." You know what I mean? And like you said, like, your weaknesses or your sensitivities, those aren't essentially weaknesses. Those are reminders of, like, it's like going to the gym. You know what I mean? It's like emotional maturity and, like, mental strength and emotional resilience is like going to the gym, dude. Like, when you lift a certain weight, if you realize, oh shit, I can't lift that, dude, like, okay, then that's the spot you got to work on, you know? So, like, if you find yourself, like, getting overwhelmed in certain situations, or you find yourself, you know, in moments that you're having trouble finding the strength, then those are the moments that's the emotional workout that you really need to be focusing on, so that when these moments arise, because they will, again, it's not that emotions are entirely unavoidable.
Yeah, they don't just
Shitty
go away.
situations do not go away. Shitty people don't go away. So you know you're going to run into these things again. Then do the emotional workouts. Put in the emotional time, or put in the time in the emotional gym, so that you can fucking handle.
So you know what to do.
Yeah, these things. Like, if you're constantly ignoring it and constantly woe is me, or, you know, you're making comparisons and you're like, oh, but they always seem to have their fucking shit together. Like, bro, those people that appear to have their shit together are working extremely hard to have their shit together. I just had this conversation with Chris Urena, like, when when he came to the office to do the photo shoot for the Valera agency and shit.
Which came out fire, by the way.
Yeah, I was looking extra LinkedIn profile for sure.
No facts.
But yeah, we were talking about it, like, just like the false perception of how people look at, like, social media creators, you know, like how we see these kids who are just fucking happy dandy and it looks like they just have it so easy, but really behind the scenes, like, that shit is a job. Like, content creation is, like, you know, it's constant work. It's shit that they're doing behind the scenes, so that on the front, or on what everybody else sees, they have their shit together, or they got it going. And that's the same thing as, like, guys, you have to put in the work behind the scenes, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. Like, you have to put in the work behind the scenes, because the results come later, you know?
Yeah, we can't be so caught up in wanting what people on the internet have, because you, like, look at this whole Christy and Desmond thing. Like, the internet is breaking right now over their divorce. And it's like, I've seen people now mention how like their last few videos, like you can tell that Desmond isn't really in it anymore. He's more in his phone. He's not doing his like silly like Christy laughing and stuff like he was in their previous videos up until this point. So they're like now clocking all these different things that they're seeing, but it's like you weren't noticing those things prior to finding out that they got divorced. We also only see like a 30-second clip of something that they created. We don't know what's going on in their home or what kind of problems they're having. He spoke out and was just like, we've been talking. Like, she knew I wanted to separate. Like, yeah, I made the wrong choice to cheat before we did so, but we already were in the process of discussing leaving each other. Yeah. So it's like, we don't know any of that, but yet we're so consumed and worried about this couple breaking up because they were some type of internet sensation of like, oh my God, I want that so bad.
Yeah, they become a standard.
But it's like, you create your own standard in the relationship that you want that works for you. Just because they look like they have it all doesn't mean that they do.
Yeah, and I think it sucks because, you know, people just be so in tune, you know? Like, even with us on a very small scale, like, because we do this shit together, like, people are like, oh my God, couples goals, fucking, oh my God, that's so fucking, and then God forbid if something happens with it between us, I fucking knew it, you could tell, it starts scouring the last 6 episodes, why did she do the 1 episode by herself, why wasn't he there, and then you can see he's not posting as many stats, like, people just need to mind their fucking business, and then it just sucks because, like, you know, the internet is in such a craze too because with that same situation, because of his infidelity, it's like, okay, we're going to drag him through the fucking mud and Christy's fine. She's got it made. She's the real bread. She's the real bread and butter of their fucking, that's what happens when you got social media, when you have a couple that does it, one of them is going to be the leader and blah, blah, da, 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 da. And
like,
I'm like,
let them be.
Like, leave them the fuck alone. And to be fair, honestly, the only reason I even know about them isn't because of her. It's because of his laugh. The fucking, fucking whatever he was doing. He
would kill me.
That's what would made it stand out to me. Yep. But like now the way that the internet is, because of his infidelity, he's the inferior one. She's fine. She's going to have an NFL player, an NBA player by the end of the fucking week or really, whatever.
I just wish the best for both of them.
Yes, of course, dude. They're both fucking human. Like, dude, so what? He had a fucking moment of weakness and he's in a relationship with dude, it's hard to be in a relationship with someone who's popular. My wife could be the first one to fucking tell you that.
Yep.
She knows how fucking, especially when I was prime fucking Billsy, bro, and I was doing my music shit, like, I know the level of skepticism was at an all-time high. But it's not because of anything I was doing. It's because of the false perception of, well, you're popular. Everybody wants you. Like, literally, like, you know, like when you're with somebody popular, it's not uncommon to think that, oh, the second they walk out the door, if they're not, the second they're out of my vision, people are on it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's also the false perception that we live under. You know what I mean? And it's like, nobody knows what was going on behind closed doors. Everything is fucking speculation. So it's like, it just sucks that, you know, people always have to put their fucking 2 cents in. And again, they create this dynamic of, well, this one's shitty and this one's not. And I guess, you know, it just really sucks. But yeah, I feel for them, and it just, you know, I wish them nothing but the best for both of them. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, they're both human. And I understand the difficulties of being in a long-term relationship. And I don't know the difficulties that they faced being a popular couple yet. You know what I mean? I know we're getting there with our podcast, and I don't know what difficulties are ahead of us when this podcast breaks. You know what I'm saying? Like, the day that it happens, because it's going to, because we're locked the fuck in, it's gonna happen.
I can't
You know? Lisa's gonna start getting hit up by female brands and wanting, you know, being ambassadors and blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna be getting hit up by fucking men's mental health, blah, da, 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 da.
Speak that into existence,
and we're gonna get to a point where, you know, we are Christy and Desmond, you know? And we're going to have to be doing things outside of this podcast to maintain that appearance and doing fucking stupid videos together and things of this nature. And we're going to get to a point where we're going to face similar things that they faced. And I don't know what that holds for us. Do I believe in the strength and the foundation within our relationship to push through and be resilient? Of course I do. But again, everybody on the internet,
predict the future.
everybody on the internet who literally has fucking 400 followers or like 1,000 followers is talking about people who got millions of followers and that their entire fucking careers were based on social media. You guys don't even have an inkling of an understanding of what they've gone through.
It's different for everybody because look at, Larry and Sashi. Like, they're hands down one of my favorite, like, internet
But
family.
we don't know what happens behind closed doors.
We don't.
Or look at Chiclet and what's her name? She's always like mean to him in the videos for fun.
Yeah, but behind closed doors, they're probably so lovey-dovey.
They're married now. He's sober. He hasn't drank alcohol in like fucking mad long. But it's like, we know that there were points where like, I'm sure that they had shit that happened behind closed doors. Some people just happen to like, handle shit discreetly better than others. But again, I just hate that the internet takes like a couple breaking up, like Desmond and Christy, like they're breaking up or they're getting divorced, and it's like, well, we got somebody's to blame or whatever the case is, versus like in this case, like you said, like Desmond said, he's like, we already were in talks of getting divorced and things of that nature. Like, yes, he made a mistake, and I think that's just when the relationship is over, for as long, the relationship can be over here. The relationship can be over way before it ends. That's what I mean to say. Like, it can end. It could be over here, but y'all don't actually break up until here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we don't know how emotionally checked out they were. We don't know what their house has been like for the last 3-4 months, but people are just fucking eating that shit up, man. And just, I despise the internet for that reason.
I think it also just depends on the content you choose to put out. Like, I feel like we put a lot of work into our relationship before even starting something like this. And a lot of the purpose behind us starting this was to help teach other people things that we have learned, which has done nothing but greatly benefit us and help us become the people we are today and throughout the journey of the people we want to become in the future. Like, we have like a set standard of the kind of content that we want to push. Like, we don't want to push things of like us just pranking each other or annoying each other just because that's what goes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we do here and there, but that's not just the main content.
I immediately thought of the Jackass videos. For anybody who hasn't seen those videos, I do these Jackass videos where it's like I do like a quote unquote stunt that would piss my wife off, such as like dropping my dirty laundry next to the laundry basket.
Except when I come home, it's in the laundry basket. So
again, guys, this is done by professionals, performed by professionals. I do not recommend that you do it at home.
You're so funny.
No, but you're totally right, baby. Like, as far as what we put out, it's what we want to receive, and I think that's been kind of like a belief for us and very rooted in our relationship. Whereas like what we put out is what you get back. You know what I mean? What you put into the universe gives you back. So if you put shit out, you're gonna get shit. If you put good out, you're gonna get good back, and it may not always come in a form that you want it to. Too, like. It's weird, right? Because I feel like we've been very good in putting good out and shit like that. And it's not always good that we get back. Sometimes, and I mean this to say, like, for example, we put out good into the world. We put out the type of people we want to be around, so on and so forth. And the universe will show us who is not meant for us. Yeah. Like, it will remove people, which sometimes can seem like a bad thing, but you don't realize that, God and the universe, again, when you put out good, they're going to give you good, but what they give you sometimes might not always appear as good. Like, whether it's the removal of people or the removal of things, or, you don't need this job. You don't need this person. You don't need this shit in your life. I'm going to remove this coping mechanism. I'm going to show you just how detrimental it is of what you're doing to yourself. And sometimes those quote unquote, what some people would think bad things, like losing certain people, losing certain friends, distancing yourself from certain family members, like what may appear as bad, like sometimes has been nothing but beneficial. Good for us. Yeah. So, I really love that, man. Oh yeah. I like this episode, dude. Yeah. You want to send them home, baby?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys. So you already know how we finish every episode. We like to send you guys home with a final listener question. And, for all the feelers that are tuned in, The question that we want to leave you guys with is, in what ways do you show up as okay even when you're not? Again, in what ways do you show up as okay even when you're not? Drop it in the comments below, because you guys, wherever you guys are listening to us from, whether it's YouTube, on the socials, make sure you guys drop it in the comments below, because you never know when the why in your story is silent and becomes our story. Yeah. Until next time, guys, keep feeling,
keep sharing,
and keep it real within the
fields,
baby.